Pain heals. Chicks dig scars. Glory lasts forever.
Welcome back to the channel. Thank you so much for checking out this video. Appreciate all your support. Smash that like button real quick before we get started. I do appreciate it. Helps out tremendously. Subscribe if you haven't already. If you have, thank you. Hope you're having a fantastic day. Shout out to the 19. Let's go. We have a special edition for you of the CDS Sports Podcast, the Three Blind Mice edition of the show, because the officiating, I had to put this in a separate video because I've got a few things for you I want to show you and break down, and we have to talk about it. And I know you get a lot of people say, oh, they're always bad calls, and the team should have done this and should have done that. Yes, of course, you can always do that. But to me, now you're just saying there's an excuse for never wanting the officiating to be better. The players are getting better, the coaches are getting better, the athletes are their training's improving, how they handle their nutrition. We can't expect officials to be better, especially with the technology we have today. And then you factor in the fact that everybody can gamble on their phone on pretty much anything at any time, and you've got active players who get paid as endorsers for these sports books, and you're going to tell me we can't talk about the officiating. Really, really, I got more to say on that. But first, quick apology to Steph White. Not for the off the ball stuff that I'm still not thrilled with, but I do really appreciate what she does here. And also, what I really wanted to say, to apologize to her about, was the announcers. And, I made a mistake of thinking they knew what they were doing, and they made it sound like Steph White had the timeout she needed in order to challenge the absolutely ridiculous, one of the worst calls I've ever seen in sports, phantom foul on Lexi Hull. But Steph White, while she had a challenge, she did not have the timeout to use it. Why didn't she have the timeout to use it? Because they just used it recently when Caitlin Clark did not have a dribble up on the sideline and was getting double teamed, and not a single damn teammate made any effort whatsoever to get open and receive a pass from her. So they had to use that timeout. That also was really, really bad. But apologize to Steph. And I like this. This is after the game. She's talking about the officiating. I think it kind of sticks to the end, but this is good to hear.
I thought she got fouled. I think it's pretty egregious what's been happening to us the last few games. A minus 31 free throw discrepancy. And I might be able to understand it if we were just chucking threes, but we're not. We're attacking the rim. And the disrespect right now for our team has been pretty unbelievable. So it's disappointing, that it doesn't go both ways, or it hasn't gone both ways. But we also can't allow that to consume us, right? Like, we've got to be able to play through that. We've got to be able to control the things that we can control. I felt like at times our late game execution was good, and I consider most of the latter half of the fourth quarter, because it was a tight ball game. We're still not recognizing our mismatches. I felt like AB had plenty of opportunities. We could have gotten her touches down low, and we had some turnovers, key turnovers. We settled at times. We fought, but we can't dig ourselves a hole from the beginning. Yeah, I mean, look, there's a system to making sure that we can send stuff in and communicate, our grievances, so to speak. I don't know that I ever feel like the system works. We're not looking for a change. We're just looking for consistency. I felt like the second half of Atlanta, at least at our place, was at least consistent, right? And that's the thing that we're looking for.
I love that she did that. I don't know if there's a fine coming for all of you that watch other major sports. And let me know if you know with the W. I know in the NBA and the NFL and so forth, for players and coaches, you say anything about the referees and you get yourself a fine, which of course is another ridiculous thing. And that is one of the big problems I have in general. I will say, I get officiating is really tough. Yes, you're going to miss calls. I've done it. I've done it for soccer and basketball, and it is not easy at times, full speed. Okay. But there has to be at some point accountability for officials players get cut. Well, maybe they first get benched, they lose minutes, eventually they get cut and they're out of the league if they don't perform to the necessary level. Coaches, same thing. Managers, if you want to call them that, like soccer and basketball, general managers, all of these people face a degree of accountability if they don't perform. Officials do not. And I know people will come up with the rare story here and there where there's this official that's no longer in the league because they, but we all know officials are not held accountable. And that is a recipe for disaster. And then you factor in nowadays with the betting. And then in the W, come on, are y'all going to tell me after everything you've seen that you're going to say there's no possibility that this is about Caitlin Clark with these calls? Come on now. Come on now. So let's see. I mean, we've got this one. This one was I think this was near the end, but let's run through. So I just want to go through a few of these in case you haven't seen them. But okay, we've got that. This is going to be DB under. And look, here's a good example, although how the offense has to run through Caitlin Clark. And real quick, if you see, because I've talked a lot about the AB Clark, the 1-2, the two-player game, and how important that is. But so much can come off of it. Now here you go. You've got the two-player game, right? You've got Boston coming out to set a pick. But Caitlin doesn't use it. But again, that's what I mean. Things come off of the two-player game. Caitlin says no, that they're going to shade. They're going to shade to eliminate that. I'm just going to go right by her and boom, great pass. Should be an easy bucket. I'm sorry, folks. This is a foul. That's a foul. That's a foul. Is that Natasha Cloud? Natasha Cloud had 77 fouls this game and they weren't called. Absolutely out there mugging. And mugging is not legal. I'm just saying. So I mean that was a huge moment. But I also want to share that because it's a great example of what I mean about the two-person game with Boston and how it leads to other things when you have Caitlin Clark out there. But no, wait. There's more. For those who didn't see it, I don't think I can full screen it. This is the only one I could find. Sorry about that, because this is actually a GIF. Oh hey, is it GIF? I think it's GIF. I'm going with GIF. But this is that so-called foul on Lexi Hull. This is a tie game, right? This is the winning play here. This is the one we wanted to challenge, but Steph White couldn't. I mean, I don't have any faith they would have overturned it, but this is a terrible call. Lexi goes up. This is supposed to be an offensive foul. You see that step? She goes to the right. Sabrina takes a big step to the right into Lexi Hall, who stays in her own space straight up. This is a blatant offensive foul. No excuse whatsoever to miss that call. So I don't want to hear about, oh, we shouldn't complain about the referees. This is the stuff that needs to be fixed. This is the stuff against the Indiana Fever that happens far, far too often. I'm going to let her play one more time. Watch this last step with her right foot. Look at that, in front of Lexi Hull. Puts her off, leans into her. That is an offensive foul. Fever basketball, end of the game, I score. Now, I think I got a few angles from case for those of you that haven't seen it. I don't know how great this is, but this is right here. Watch right hand, left arm. So under Caitlin Clark's arm. That is a blatant foul, but of course that is not all of it. Now you can see the free throws, right? Liberty 25 of 32, Fever 11 of 15. I think the Fever have been called for something like in the last 3 games, I think the Fever have been called for like 63 fouls, right? Caitlin Clark, 5 fouls in each of the last 2 games. When's the last time Caitlin Clark got into foul trouble? Both of these games, she picked up 2 in the first quarter. And that's the other thing, too. That's what's so wild about this and why I'm also showing these is how blatantly bad these are. But people have to understand, and right there's this. I don't know if I can blow this up. Let me see. But yeah, okay. So this is on the inbound play before she gets the ball. That's a foul. That's a foul. You can't do that. You can't do that, right? So now she's got the right arm up on that shoulder. That prevents that swing through with the ball, which makes it a big difference, right? That makes a big difference on the play. And then, of course, you also have that where she's on her as well. And then you saw at the end, which I'll show another better angle. And I don't know if it is this one or not, but let me run through this. I think this is still the last play, though. So she's grabbing her, holding her there. The left arm goes up and under Caitlin Clark's arm. That is not the best angle, but I do have one more good angle for it. But before we get to that, I think that's that same thing. And I think, yeah, this is the one I'm going to show. But before we get to this, what I was going to say, and this is what a lot of people skip over, and I get it, is bad calls early on. And a lot of people say, oh, well, you've got so much of the game left and this and that. But when a referee targets a player with some ticky-tack foul, some phantom stuff early on, people you get into, oh, that's not a foul, right? And then you move on and you forget. But when you have a star player, an important piece of a team that picks up 2 early fouls or 3 early fouls, it changes everything that comes next. It changes everything that comes next. Any of you that have played know exactly what I'm talking about. You pick up 2 fouls in the first quarter, first of all, you might be sitting for the rest of the half, right? Completely changes the game. Or you are definitely changing how you play because you absolutely cannot pick up that next foul. It changes everything about the game, and that's what a lot of people forget that part and don't understand it. It's like it changes everything. And we would talk about this last year. Aaliyah Boston had a number of games where she got in early foul trouble. That changes everything. I'm sorry, you cannot be an interior defensive presence, which Boston has been this season. Look, all credit to her. I love the way that Aaliyah Boston has been playing. You can't be the defensive presence when you pick up early fouls. You simply can't. So you want to impact the game. So that's the other thing. A lot of times it's about influencing the game in one direction and impacting the game. Although you saw in this one, it was absolutely just about changing the outcome of the game, making sure that the Liberty win. But you can influence and impact the game early on. Okay. And you can do the same in football when a big play happens and they call it back for holding. And for those of you who watch football, you've probably heard the phrase a lot of people use it here and they say, well, the refs could call holding off on the offensive line. They could call holding on every play. Like that's one of those things you could. So that means they're very selective of when they do it. So they can stop a touchdown drive in the first quarter, right? By being selective on that hold. Completely influences the rest of the game. But here's this one, if you can see, and I know it's a little blurry with this close-up, but watch Natasha Howard's left hand, right? Look, she lifts up Clark's right hand and then hits the ball. That is as blatant as a foul. I know a lot of people say, oh, that's touchy foul. Well, then you got a problem with the understanding the game of basketball, friends, because that right there, up goes the right arm, up goes the right arm. That is a foul. That is a foul right there. She didn't knock the ball away. She fouled her, period. That is that. So that is absolutely wild that allowed to get away with that. I'm not sure that I had anything left. Yeah, I mean, then people want to talk about this because this is kind of wild. I mean, I've never seen this before. This official never doesn't even have the respect. You're talking about the player, the face of the league. This official makes a crap call that everyone knows is wrong. The man should be fined and booted out of the league. Look at him. Don't you want to punch him? I want to. I know. I'm not advocating, but I'm just saying that that is incredibly disrespectful. And I will say this to a lot of officials, not WNBA officials because they're not professional, but in the NBA will let players talk a lot. They will. I mean, there are certain things you can't say, and when they're saying, "Hey, enough's enough," you better be done, or you're going to get a technical. But I don't know many officials in the NBA that would do that. They would absolutely let a player have their say there, especially this guy who did that on purpose and knows that it was a foul, but he did not want the Indiana Fever to win. Which leads me to the last problem. This got a lot longer than I thought, but wait, is this it? Oh no, I just thought this was funny, and I didn't want to just say it. I wanted to give Mr. Gru, the ruler of minions. L. Duncan was saying some nonsense stuff, and one of the responses here, L, there's more groping in this game than on a Japanese bus on something hub. I'll leave it at that because we're not supposed to say that word. But oh shoot, I thought I had it. I'm rolling through these all real quick because there was something else that I wanted to touch on, but I don't seem to have it here. I don't know what happened, but hold on. I'm gonna find it because this is important. Here we go. Check this out, folks. This is your referee. He's a teacher in the public school system. He's a referee in the public school system, and someone, I don't have it here, but I saw where someone said he had like 4 years of officiating experience in public schools. And this is who was out on the court officiating a professional basketball game between the defending champs and one of the most popular teams in all of sports. That's what the Indiana Fever have become, with the face of the league. And we are putting out an inexperienced public school official. And people will say, well, oh, they don't have the. You're going to tell me with everything they spend money on, and I don't know, that they can lose $40, $50 million last year because they wanted to get charter flights before the new deal kicked in. But they can't afford to pay officials. Think about this. I don't know what they pay. I didn't look before I did this. But think about this. $100,000 a year, right? Six-figure income is pretty nice. That's far above average for the typical American. You're going to tell me the number of officials that they have to employ, that they can't pay them 100,000? Because again, we're talking about a 4-month season. Now, yeah, in the off season, you would think there's things they got to learn and this and that, but I got to tell you, $100,000 for 4 months of officiating in the WNBA doesn't sound so bad to me. And again, I don't know what they get paid, but the excuse that, oh, they can't afford better officials, nonsense, absolutely nonsense, especially for the most part. Well, I don't know. I'd have to double check, but for the most part, this avoids the college seasons, right? So you could also get high level Division 1, even Division 2 officials that are going to be far, far better than this guy. But I just felt like I had to do a video on the officiating. We talked about it here and there, but this was just so egregious. Unlike that dude talking to Asia Wilson about how people can't talk about sports unless they play them, didn't understand the word. But anyway, let me know your thoughts on all this in the comments below. What do you think of the officiating? And look, a lot of it gets ignored. It's probably not going to be fixed, but I don't know. You make enough noise as fans. The Fever fans have a lot of pull. I mean, if they obviously honestly got organized and being like, hey, we're skipping this game, or we're not watching this game because of this thing that's happening, like with the sham investigation, the WNBA would have some issues. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. As always, appreciate you checking out this video. Smash the like button, subscribe to the channel, and I will talk to you later.